truth is that if you have the brain to learn tech and all you could do to use it, all you could use it to do is to commit crime. If you dupe anybody under any means, if you do anything in exchange for money that is not legitimate, you're a criminal. And it's so shameful that you are not putting your brain into good use. Imagine you spend all the money learning how to code, learning how to create a website, and you end up using it to scam people. Shame on you. Even the gods of your land will never forgive you. I'm looking in.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our very first edition of Royal Link podcast session. It's wonderful having our very wonderful guests with us. My name is Samuel Dean Decodams on Twitter and on my social media handle, and I have with me two very, very wonderful guests. I use "very" twice because they're like J.J. Okocha. They said he's too good that he was named twice, so they are very, very excellent persons. If you are if you are conversant with social media, if you are a social media person, if you're a tech person, you should know them. I have with me, they will introduce themselves. On my left side, they are both on my left. I have with me, sir, please your name and tell us about yourself.
My name is Uche Okoye, the managing director of Trump Studio, also known as Anambra. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for honoring my invitation. I did not know you would say yes. When I was texting you, I was scared. I was like, oh God, will he say yes? I was very scared, really. And thank you very much. And you, sir, please introduce yourself to us.
Thank you for having me. My name is Zikora. I'm a technology professional and founder and CEO of Osmaxin Developers.
Okay, so we have very wonderful persons on set. So don't joke with this edition, please. Okay, straight to the point, we'll be discussing on Eastern market, the Eastern sector, and the technology innovation. And we want to really see where we are and how we can fit in as the Eastern sector, the Eastern market, the technology sector. But before we proceed with that, we'll just have some questions to ask our guest so that you can know our guest very well. I know Anambra first son. This is my first time seeing him. This is my very first time hearing him. This is my very first time, there was a day on Twitter, I think after his wedding or his trad, I saw his picture. I was like, is this the person that he used one average? I was expecting one tall, slim, Jet Li looking young man, but he's looking more than Jet Li. So okay, before we go to our topic, I would like to know, sincerely, you are very, very influential on Twitter. I joined Twitter 2016, but like a norm, you will join Twitter, you will go for break, you will try to understand it. So when I came back to Twitter, I have been following you. I see you are very passionate about correctness. So please, can you tell us what motivates you to, what is your drive? You're always tweeting about correctness, political accuracy. So what is your drive, please?
Okay, we have a lot of things driving us as human beings. One of the things that motivates me is to see people around me succeed. I love to be part of any community that is progressive. I love to be part of something that is making real impact in people's life. So when I joined Twitter around 2009, I left. I was very little. I was very young. So I joined quite early. I left and came back in 2010.
As expected.
Yeah, so I came back in 2010, and it has been a roller coaster, different experiences and then different, things that I came across. but I took it upon myself to redirect my focus in Southeast or in Alibo, so to say.
Okay.
You know, I lived in Lagos. I moved back to Anambra State, precisely Awka, sometime 2012. And I schooled here in Unizik. I studied applied biochemistry.
Yeah.
So since that time, I've been so focused in the development from this end. And I believe Ndeba is Nebonyo Bikona Wachi. So I believe in that philosophy. I have been championing any type of development agenda that is coming from this part of the world. I've been trying to see how we can be globally competitive, you know, as a people, and how we can drive any type of movement that bring in the right development, the right uh, approach to life, the right things to be done, like you rightly put it. So it is something that motivates me, seeing people queue into that direction, seeing people bring idea within the ecosystem, of course, help to drive whatever thing you want to achieve as an agenda, because everyone is a political animal, and for you to be political, you have to have an agenda, you have to have something that drives you.
Yes.
So my agenda has always been the excellence and the development of an Igbo. So it encompasses a lot of things. There are a lot of things into it. So these are my driving, goals and objectives.
Thank you so much. You sound more like Einstein. Yeah, seriously. Thank you so much. Okay,
Yeah.
you spoke about your passion for anime. You know, we all claim to have passion for anime. Everybody wants to see anime progress. But I think in recent time we've seen anime individual wanting to progress personally. So what is your view? Like how do you think, or what do you think we can do collectively for this growth to be collective? Ogala Igbo no onye a alụbe ya, onye alụ ọbe ya. I think I have to use Igbo iwe ghọta ife m na-asụ. Onye a alụbe ya, onye alụ ọbe ya, onye alụ ọbe ya. How do we do collectively as ndị Igbo to help us come out as a people, not just collection of different people?
There's a saying that Igbo man is naturally Republican,
Okay.
and what that means is that we operate in a very democratic system naturally, and an Igbo person or an Igbo man believes in Ebebele Ugobelu. So that has really been taken out of context in so many ways, because if you look at the history, you see the Igbo people were more or less people who are committed in driving development as a community. So they have been coming together to do a lot of things, abroad, sending people abroad to school as a community coming together under age grade system
Yes.
to build projects. So this is something that has been happening. So what it means is that the even though we are Republican, even though we may seems to be individualistic, we still have it within us, innate, that we build as a community. But some of these things have gone away in recent years, thanks to a lot of things I wouldn't want to delve into. Um, the implication is that okay, no nofia, ngwele no nozo. There seems to be zero direction where a lot of our people are going to, um, and it has really resulted into a lot of people just being by themselves, doing their own thing without thinking about their neighbor, without thinking about the community. It is something that has really eaten deep, and a lot of things contributed to that, which I also do not want to delve into. But the end goal is that the end point is that we used to be community. We used to build as community,
Community, yeah.
but some of those threats, some of those things have really gone away. Where we are today is where everybody is trying to survive. So there is this serious survival syndrome that has really eaten deep among Ndibo, and it is causing a lot of that individualistic tendency or mindset. And today we are beginning to see community going beyond the locals or beyond the towns community. You know, we used to have village community, town community, but now we are, because of development or civilization, people are now beginning to emerge on different level. If you go to school, for example, people meet and mingle on different level. It could be religious, it could be football, it could be any type of thing. So
Social engagement,
exactly.
yeah.
So there are other things that that bring people together. Now, in developing, especially in this competitive global economy, there has to be an intentional community development in order to drive any type of development, like community engagement in order to drive any type of development. So that has lacked, unfortunately, among the Ndibo. So where we are today is where we are trying to catch up with the world, because the world is moving at a very fast pace,
Very.
because they have understood, on the every other person except Ndibo have understood that there is need for synergism, like to bring your effort together in order to drive the development. So I think it is coming, and our people are beginning to realize that, and are investing our energy in building that community. So I'm very optimistic and very hopeful that things are going to turn around for our people on that journey.
Thank you very much. Zikora,
Yeah.
he spoke about development. You are a tech person. Uh, our brother here, our friend, is a head cap chief, fan award. So let's talk of keyboard and mouse. Okay, from your perspective, how rapid is technology development and growth in Southeast? Considering the fact, like you said, the world is moving at a very fast pace. Let's not look at what we are seeing within our environment, even though we are trying to hop in. But if you see what other people are doing outside Africa, outside Nigeria, there is this rapid, like lightning. You will see a gadget today, and the next month there is a very great upgrade in that
That is
gadget.
entirely
You'll be like, I saw what Elon Musk is doing. The implant is trying to. I remember when we are in ND2, we had that project. So I was writing the topic. So one of the lecturers said that this is a project that is just out of still far. At least barely 5 years, and somebody's already doing it. So how do you think, in your perspective, the rapid growth of technology and development in Southeast, in the East, what is your view? How do you see it?
All right. Thank you first of all for having me again. I am honored to be amongst you guys, especially my older brother here. I heard you say he's not a techie, which is
No, I
it?
didn't say
Okay.
he's a senior tech
All right.
award.
All right. Okay. Which is very, he has his background
Yeah.
in digital technology. So I would like to say this concerning our pace of development and how fast we are moving with the rest of the world. So I would like to look at it in two perspectives.
Yeah.
So number one is the human resource, then the geographical location.
Okay.
So let's start with the human resource. Permit me to say, you can hardly call any interesting project, whether it's foreign or local, that you don't have in Debo as a part of the team.
Yes.
That's just the truth. Like some of the most mind-blowing innovations, especially in core technology products, from machine learning to um, like proper AI
Yeah.
to blockchain. Igbos are or in the Igbo are actively involved. People from this
Spearheading the
region,
projects.
you
Yeah.
understand. So when it comes to human resource, we are actively engaged. Do you understand? So let's bring it down to this region. because I one of the things I appreciate about this, which is why I'm excited about what we are doing, is visibility, awareness, letting people know what's going on. So I'm just going to run over. So number one is, like we've established,
Yeah.
um, we will try not to, um, should I call it, compare with other regions, right? But at the same time, it's also interesting to note how fast we are picking up in terms of like following up with what's happening generally in the world.
Yeah.
So let's start from, I won't want to mention specific states or regions, but if I look at Enugu, for example, you have interesting projects like Greenage Technologies.
Call it
Greenage,
green edge, okay?
yeah, Greenage Technologies, which recently raised a very interesting sum of money, right? What people don't know about it, what they do is that they build solar panels.
Wow.
Right now, they've equally invested into solar powered keke, like
Wow.
tricycles that are currently,
here in the east.
yes, in Enugu,
See that?
that are currently actually like running. Do you
They are
understand?
active.
I'm telling you, yeah, they equally have like a fab lab. A fab lab is basically where you can actually do, they have a fab lab for embedded systems and all of that stuff that they rent out for people to come and use.
Mm.
We also have a fab lab in Abia State, right?
This
I've
one,
forgotten
Abia
this
State.
our Abia State now. Forgotten the name of the fabrication lab, but I think they have a 3D printer there,
Wow.
right? So let's talk about blockchain. Now, this one might sound a little bit controversial, but I'm still going to say it. When it comes to blockchain technology, most of the leaders, whether it's thought leaders and evangelists and advocates, most of them are in Enugu,
Yes.
right? So you look at the amazing work that Ugochukwu is doing with real world assets,
Yeah.
right? That's taking properties and actual physical assets and
Assets.
putting them on the blockchain
Mm.
so that people can own them
Own
and
them.
earn rewards from them.
Mm.
Talk about before now, like even before this dollar issue, giving people the ability to save in cryptocurrency,
Yeah.
basically USDT,
Mm.
which is like stable currency equivalent to the dollar, right? So if you look at the amazing work that IG Hub is doing, IG Hub is a very, very humongous organization in terms of like their locations from Asaba to Abia to Onitsha, right? And they're training a lot of people and impacting lives. So I would say generally, right, um, when you now even start looking at startups, when you start looking at engineers, people are building a lot of amazing stuff, right? There was a recent meetup, still in Ugu, you and we had like over 20 startup founders there.
Mm.
I mean, here in Ingo, if you look at
Just Enugu alone.
yeah, if you look at what's the name, this website called Startup, I think Startup Insights. If you check top ecosystems in Nigeria, I think if you Google it now, you'll see that Enugu is the fourth in terms of like the most developed ecosystem. So I would say we are catching up. So what I would just like to point out is the fact that we have a peculiar, should I call it, approach to some of these things, right? And understanding how these things are adopted, it will surprise you that there are a lot of people in Onitsha main market that are using BTC. No, on a serious note, like they're actually using cryptocurrency
As
means of payment. Do you understand?
okay.
And as well as should I call it, hedging,
Okay.
right? So these are interesting things that are happening. Now, if we look at, let's look at Nnewi in terms of like hardware technology, you know that we are actually exactly,
magic there.
you understand. So I feel generally there's a lot of adoption, people are building stuff, right? And we are moving at our own pace. There's room for growth obviously, but generally I would say that yes, we're actually like meeting up with, yeah.
Thank you very much. To both of you, I want us to also talk on adoption.
Yeah.
Something happened 2021. I met one big company owner at Onitsha, and I pitched an idea. I was a project manager for Bentley, and I pitched an idea to him that okay, this company is the company is a multi-million company. Why not leave pen and paper means of, truly, if you get to Onitsha, if you enter on it, just like you get on it, everywhere is smelling of money. There is transaction, people are buying, people are selling, even the wheelbarrow pusher is making loads of money. But if you get to a regular shop, you'll be so amazed that this shop in a day is making millions. Go to those banks inside the market, how much they deposit in a day is scary. But they are stuck with pen and paper. So I met this man, I told him, I saw his register. In fact, the register was up to 14, where he writes both debtors from Kano, debtors from Sokoto, debtors from Lagos, where he buys his products and all of that. So I told him, okay, sir, this is complex. And his company is within Obaru Atani. So I told him, okay, sir, why not we switch? Let's do a parallel transfer from this to this. It, 2 year that particular year, there was flood in Obaru. Part of it, this flood had gone beyond this and damaged all this register you had. You would lose everything. So why not we switch? And the man was very reluctant. And the truth is, many Igbo men are like this. Many Igbo men find it very difficult to switch from what they know, from what they used to have, to what is supposed to be. So how do we get this thing into them? How do we make the Igbo market, the Eastern market, believe that you'll be surprised that some Igbos are not even, some market don't even take transfer. If you've been to market, they'll tell you, I'm not going transfer, no cash. So how do we tell them, okay, there are products like you said. How do we tell them, how do we make them believe? Or that switch from Gen to Solo. They will tell you about more, those kind of. So what do we do?
I beg to disagree on one point.
Okay.
A lot of them are switching straight to OPay and Money Point, and that is the gap that existed that these two companies have found and are filling in immediately.
Okay.
So I just wanted to disagree on that particular one. But any other thing you said is absolute. But if you look at the Igbo man, very well, especially the generation that you are speaking of, if you look at the trauma and the kind of things they've gone through and where they are coming from, their historical background, you begin to understand why they behave the way they behave most times.
Yeah.
So I usually tell people to factor in some of these things when they are making any proposition or trying to change things, because you can't really change something that has been in existence, has been working for them for a long time
They've trusted
immediately.
it.
So
Yeah.
they have there is a serious trust deficit in the system, politically and any means, any ways, because they have seen it all. They have gone through hell and come out to be where they are. And telling them to somehow shift on something they are not conversant with is going to be difficult. So I think what we should do is focus on getting a very tangible result. People are result oriented. They believe in testimony much more than what you tell them. So if you come to an Igbo man shop and tell him beautiful stories on how you can transfer his books into digital from the words of mouth alone, he may look at you as somebody who is likely going to collaborate with the government and rip him off. Because they have had similar experience. And I can tell you, many of them lost their money during the banking era, the earlier time when banking was almost like a fraudulent institution, until the consolidation happened by present governor of Anambra State. So that experience leaves serious scar. So when you come to them and talk about things that are not familiar, within their terrain, they are going to brush it away. So the solution is this: get somebody, even if it is a very small business, get somebody who you can give that solution to, who can adopt it, and make sure that is successful. Once the person is successful, the person will become a reference point. So our people function with testimony. So when they have a testimony of somebody who is operating or using that solution, and the person is doing it well, you have already broken even. How did Money Point and OPEC get all of them to start using their product? It is because somebody or two or three persons have used it
Testify.
and testified, and everybody's using it. So they didn't need to come and. Have you ever seen any money point advert or pay advert in the
Or
market?
marketer.
You know, have you ever seen anybody going from shop to shop preaching to adopt this technology? No, they are adopting it because they have seen. So that way, whatever you want to preach to these people, you have to provide, give them something they will hold on to. So that is basically what I think. But I agree with you. So it's not going to be very swift. It has to take a lot of time, to actualize. But we have to focus on getting results. If you don't focus on getting results, you lose sight. So essentially, when you go to one person and you do not get a nod from the person, do not go home saying that this is how they are. Look for someone that can agree to what you're saying. And once you get the person, you have to get the person and deliver it. It could be for free. It could be very minimal, very cheap.
Yeah.
So once you get it, it becomes a reference point to the big dogs or big cats, but when you go and jump to that top guy, that is operating billions of naira worth of business, and you're telling the person to change a pressure module, he's going to look at you as somebody that is planning to come and rip him off. So I want anybody who is watching to understand this particular hack. I'm giving you hack now, so you better take it home.
Thank you very much. I think that was what I missed. Jumping to some senior guys and say, "Okay, see this thing." They'll be like, "We will try it," because it's someone I know very well.
Yeah.
It's someone, but transiting from what he has, he just getting his book, write it down. The large resources and so is only 10 million. He prefers it than computerized system. So I think what I missed was getting this. I think from what you're saying, it is procedural. There are
Get somebody in your charger or anywhere else,
smaller.
yes, and give the person to adopt that.
Okay.
And once the person is successful, 6 months, 1 year,
Spread like
you just take that as a testimony and go and give. You don't need to preach. Tell the person, look at where the person was, look at where he is today. You provided this, and look at what he's doing for him. That's all.
And the person himself will even preach. He said,
That's all. Before you know it, everybody will use it, because our people, like I told you, we function with testimony. We don't listen. How many times have you seen them tune to TV station to watch? But that is where they see adverts. So they don't listen to all these things. So if you spend all your billions doing adverts to convert them, it's not going to convert. The biggest advert you need is testimony.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I just want to. I think Uche has pretty much said everything, but I just want to add just one perspective, which is testimony, or like word of mouth. Let's call it word of mouth, right? So let's look at folklore that's telling stories. I believe that it's which I stand to be corrected, originated from this eastern region.
Yeah.
I mean the whole folklore tradition.
Every race or has it, but we have it as a very
strong part of our cultural system. So think about folklore, how the oral traditions of passing knowledge or information from father, you understand, and that's how we work. So this is what I would say for any builder. Innovation is an interesting space, and I'm talking from the aspect of a builder and a tech professional, right? Innovation is an interesting space. So we know sometimes we tend to forget that most of the technologies that we are using now, most of them are, take InstaSwitch is clocking 10 years. So do you understand? Like sometimes we feel like all these things were was yesterday.
Yeah.
But they took time. This even other regions that are already adopting these things, right? Yeah. They had their time, they had a period of time where they actually they had that innovation adoption phase. So this is what I want to say to anybody that is trying to enter into the market and expect quick wins. You are joking.
Yeah.
You understand? So
no quick win in the market.
No, it doesn't work that way, especially when it's innovation.
Okay.
We are trying to change people's behavior. You have to be patient. Do you understand? Like you have to play the long-term game. That's what I've come to realize. So just think about it. Like you said, they are making millions, right? And nothing is wrong with them.
Yes.
They're not complaining.
So why do you want to
So
come
why
and
do you
change it?
so why do you want to come and change it? So it's not like
What governor said, if it's not broken, why
why
fix
fix
it?
it? So it's more like saying it's more like so as far as I'm concerned, you are basically being selfish.
Yeah.
So they will see it as you are trying to make money off them
Of them
Yes.
for offering nothing.
for nothing that they don't have a problem, like they didn't ask for this thing. So rather, this is what I would say, exactly what Uche said, which is understand, like following that route of starting small, but more importantly, coming from a solution perspective,
Perspective.
right?
Yeah.
So somebody was giving an analogy. I think it was like invoice management using real life problems, something like like their boys or their workers stealing their goods,
Their goods, yeah.
showing how your digital product can solve that
That's yeah.
direct problem. You understand? So in summary, like being patient, like seeing that this is a long-term game, especially when it's innovation. All the products from WhatsApp was in 2009.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You understand? They are. It feels like they just came yesterday, but they had their adoption cycle. You understand? I think we should actually pay attention to that when we are trying to drive innovation in the south, in the eastern region. Yeah.
Thank you very much. There is a concept of this podcast I want us to address very strictly. Yesterday, while coming back from office, I observed myself and I went to see someone. While coming back, something happened. The bus we were in, our bus driver was driving on this service lane now. Then another bus came with speed to overtake. Suddenly, it was these guys that catch one-way runners, that catch bus, So, and as that happened, everybody in the bus was we are angry, we are shouting. But I believe that first of all, if our driver were to be on in a very high speed, we would definitely collide. But luckily he was not. He was about to pick passenger, so it was slow pace. It occurred to me that I know Anambra State currently, or every single state in Nigeria, we have a very downtime in the economy. So everybody needs money. And now, how do our government precisely adopt technology and reduce some recklessness that we've seen in the street? You want to get this capital, it's necessary, it's everywhere. Those that have been to UK will tell you there's taxing in UK, there's taxing in the United States. But I'm very certain, the little I know, it is not as it's not as crowded as it is here in the East, being our case study. How do our government adopt these ideas and reduce involvement of several kind of guys that so how do they yeah.
Let me help you. You see, what I always tell people is that if you have a problem, any problem in a society,
Yeah.
as a leader, and you are intentional, or you really want to solve that problem, you're going to solve it.
Okay.
All you need to do is look at other society that has solved it.
So yeah.
There's no problem that exists here in Nigeria that has never existed elsewhere.
True.
There's none. So if you look at issue of crime or what you just mentioned, and you look around the world, you see there are other countries that have similar circumstance, like our similar challenges like our country. So what one would expect is our leaders, who have access to some of these things, would go and understudy how these countries solve theirs. What you mentioned is very simple. It is about accountability. We rarely, hold people accountable in this part of the country. And there are scapegoats, there are people who are exempted, and by the virtue of their position in the society. So these are the things that make it quite difficult to hold everybody accountable at the same level. In the Western world, for example, in the UK or in any world, in any sensible country, if you disobey traffic rule, you're going to be punished accordingly, irrespective of your position in the society. So how do they do this? There is a technology already designed, that is existing in many countries
Yeah.
for a long time, that captures the what's it called, the plate number. You know, if you break the law, you will be billed immediately from your home. They will send you bill
Mm.
in your house. So I have a friend of mine who returned from where he used to live, and his younger brother took his vehicle and drove recklessly, and they billed him and sent him the bill immediately in his phone
Mm.
while he was
in
in
the house.
Nigeria. So that is how the system that is interested in holding accountable, operates. So it's quite easy to adopt it here. We have people with the know-how, that can actually build that type of solution
Mm.
in this country. So if you have, for example, Anambra State or Enugu State, we have strategic positions, we have junctions, we have T, what they call them, U-turns, and so many other, a lot of places
Yeah.
we have that this solution can be positioned. So we can have all these things if our leaders are interested. If, for example, if a governor wants to get this thing done, it is not up to security votes some of them take home monthly or on a quarterly basis. So it can be adopted, it can happen if they want to, because it has happened elsewhere. So they can simply go to those countries they are traveling to, to spend our money. They can easily go there and copy what they are doing and bring even the substandard one. We will manage it. So, but the thing is that because of what I mentioned earlier, that there are people who are untouchable, there are people who break the law and nothing happens, and there are people who make money to cause trouble. There are people who, all sort of elements operating in the society, and these people have made it quite difficult to hold everybody accountable. And it is the reason why even the government officials themselves, because they also breakers of this law. So it's make it very unattractive for government to implement such rule that will be able to help eliminate that type of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Really did a good breakdown. Is it? I don't know if you have something to add.
I think Uche has pretty much like said everything. So in Africa, there's this concept we like to usually talk about, leapfrog, and one of the reasons why it's becoming an issue, or is becoming like a broken record, is the fact that we are using technology as an excuse to subvert infrastructure development, right? So technology doesn't fix everything, it only enhances what is already on ground.
Yeah.
A case in point, our recent election where beavers, you know how much was spent on that technology.
Yeah.
Now, by all judgment, you know that that was like a very solid project, both the organization that was contracted and all of that stuff. But an institution that was supposed to utilize that technology
Decided to do what they want.
I'm not going to say more than that. So I feel the first thing is to actually take care of institutions, like
Okay.
which I said it, or political will. Beyond political will, we need strong institutions that can make all of these things happen. So a concept that I've come across recently in my recent, because I'm recently looking into personal finance, is tax, and discovered that a lot of Nigerians are not even conscious of paying their tax. I mean their personal income tax. Nobody's tracking these things. Do you understand? So
Yeah.
we actually need strong institutions that technology can now enable. And because the truth is, technology will expose fraud, technology will eliminate opportunity to siphon money. So people that have negative motives will not want to adopt it.
Take food from their mouth.
Exactly. So, but like he said, political will, because a simple technology solution can take all the doubts out of the road.
Yes.
And these are people that they are making money from it. So what are you going to do with them? So these are just the issues. So it's about adoption. Every governor, every region can actually adopt technology. it's already available. There are already models that are existing. We are not the first to get there, but it's the political will and strong institutions to actually make these things
They will only
count.
adopt if they want to adopt.
Yeah. If you have somebody
Who is willing?
willing, that has the political will, that's all.
Okay. There is an issue I would want us to look at. I observed, we've seen over time from what we discussed, there are desire to innovate, to implement, to do. Now on the part of entrepreneurs, the part of those that want to develop. But there is this strong issue which is financing and funding. I don't know. We claim, if we are not, I don't know, but we claim to be one of the richest in the Igbo. What happened during the Christmas session? It's sweetened me. Oh. I traveled to the village. I was very happy. I was staying
Have you built your own mansion?
that kind of thing. I was staying in front of my father's compound.
Okay.
Jeep, P-Wagon, Venza. I'll tell my cousins, I'm happy. I'm happy. But why is it that we are still finding difficult to get funding? And there are many, like you said, there are many developing startups, founders in the southeast, in the eastern region, in Nigeria at large, but we are struggling to get funding. But yet, we have the big guys. There is a particular video trending on Twitter, the wedding. I don't know if you saw it. Nah, Abbas Alego there.
Okay.
So what is the issue?
Let me help there.
Okay.
You see, this particular issue is not something that I really would like to discuss here now.
Okay.
Because it has a lot of legs and heads. One of the legs is the fact that there's a difference between investment money that can be used for investment and the money that can be used for dorime.
Okay.
They are two different things.
Okay.
When you mention investment or bringing money to invest in tech startup and stuff like that, it comes from a corporate point of view, because startup is a corporate designed organization,
Yeah.
and most of our people are not into corporates.
Okay.
What they have is individual money, not corporate money. Corporate money is that you, I, him, we have a company and we have some amount of money that we want to use to invest in another company, and we see that company is doing well. We collectively agree that we are going to invest a particular amount, and we will do due diligence. You'll be assigned to check the background. I will be assigned to do this. You'll be assigned. We'll do what they call due diligence before we start going through the legal process, and of course investment and all whatnot. Now that type of setting is lacking. Use the word lacking. Most businesses you see in the Southeast are father and son, owned by individuals. People are toiling day and night trying to build business in the Southeast. Most of
own pockets.
from their sweat. You will see them if you go to Onitsha main market. All the people who are operating there are on individual level.
Yeah.
So there's zero or next to, no corporates. Let me give you an example. There is a brewery company, very popular one. I won't mention their name. They didn't give me money today, so they are bringing a seed funding. I think it's up to 50 million, if I'm not correct. I don't know. So they are bringing that kind of money to invest in small SMEs in Eastern region. That can happen because they are corporate organization, but an individual cannot open his eyes and bring that type of money, even if he has it.
Yes.
I mean, he would rather invest it in
his own
more
business.
container now.
Now.
Do you understand? More container will bring me more.
Money.
Imagine investing 50 million or 100 million in another man's business. Mama could for name. I will use it to build or bring more container now. You have to go, because if I have been importing 20 containers and I'm making this kind of money. I will double it instead.
You know if what?
You got to go. So it doesn't really align completely with the business model, that's currently operational here. That's one of the problems. Then another one is that there has not really been really um, example of success story. I am a very huge fan of that because I always tell him and everybody, success story is very important in motivating Igbo
Yeah.
to do anything. In the Bani, we are business people. We don't engage in anything that is not bringing any value.
No raw profit.
If it is not making money, if it's not bringing value,
Now that.
an Igbo man is not interested. So until it starts making value, until they start seeing tangible value.
Yes.
So if we have recorded a very visible, tangible project that everybody is talking about, in the next 5 years, you'll be begging them to stop putting money. Do you understand? So let's have that story and talk about how that investment happened. You see them, rushing. Everybody will flood into it. Our people, I repeat, function with testimony. If you don't have anything you're telling them, if they are not seeing it with their eyes, it's not making sense to them. So essentially, what I've given you is a two thing. The number one is the business model that we operate here. It's not really as corporate as it's compared to other places. Then the people, the mindset, and that does not mean that there are not people who are actually investing. There are people who are actually doing that, but these are people who understand it. People within the corporate space, they understand how this thing works. So they understand the language and they understand the tricks. But people in the commercial, informal sector who have the resources, they don't have that time. If you are talking anything about investments in tech and talking nonsense, it doesn't make sense to them.
Yeah.
So, to a large extent, they have the money they have made from, their toiling and everything, but they do not have the corporate outlook to be able to see the vision. Imagine telling a businessman to invest in what you guys are doing. We ask you how much will he make in next 5 months. That's what next 5 months is instantly. Because some man you use that money to import container, he has already calculated it. So he would rather invest it what will give him immediately that kind of income. But on a corporate outlook, we see it from different perspective.
A futuristic view.
Different perspective. So these are the things that we have to understand and begin to, and that's why we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
So if, for example, this video gets to any of them, they begin to ask the important question: okay, how do I put my business in a corporate format? How do I begin to redesign my business so that I'll be able to be part of this type of global investment? So a lot of them don't know that they need to also structure their business to attract more investment. We have a lot of them I don't want to mention, and they are successful, yes, but the outlook is not corporate. So there's nowhere there will be income flow aside the buy, the buying and selling they do. There's no investment that is going to come into the corporate, into the business, because it's not well organized. And because if you don't organize your business, nobody will put their money there. And people should be able to see what you are doing and it's going successful and say, see, I like what you are doing. Give me 10% share. What is your 10%? People should be able to do that. But people are not doing it, not because they don't want to do it, but because the business design here is not, the structure is not corporate. So that's the 2 points that I make.
You raised the point that I would want us to discuss maybe sometime later.
Yeah.
There was a time I was discussing with a friend and I asked him that I observed that most times many Igbo business name don't thrive after the founder dies. Primarily, I've observed there are many companies I would not want to mention, but it seems like when the core owner, the core idea bearer dies or leaves the space, the business seems to shrink. That, for example, transport company. Why growing up, there are many transport companies.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's because of this idea he raised, this structure of a thing we don't have. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a problem.
This is basically what it is. It's basically what it is because the business centers on the
On the
person.
person.
The management, the operation, the everything is on one person. If the person is no longer there,
The idea dies with him,
yes,
the passion,
the
everything.
children will not have the same discipline.
Oh,
Like there are people who are successfully bringing in their children into their business. It's very fantastic because some of these global brands you see are family business.
very true.
From just single family alone, multiplying. But if you look at the business model, it has a structure from the founder perspective to the investors it is well organized. So it's not necessarily going to be the CEO is not necessarily going to be determined by the founders.
Yeah.
The CEO is determined by the board members,
By board members.
people who are there, who are overseeing it from different lenses, professionals in the game. So this is something that most businesses lack. And again, I still do not want to blame them so much because some of them do not they do not have the luxury of understanding what it means to put their business in a corporate format. There are so many so many reasons to have that trust deficit in the system,
yeah.
Because they have seen a lot of things, crumble their business. They've seen a lot of things deep hand into their business,
Mess their money
they
up.
mess their business up. So these things are the things that accumulate the trauma.
The
But
mindset
the mindset that's created, but we cannot be stuck there.
Yeah.
So why I'm saying this is for younger ones, who are watching. If you own a business, if you are into business, remember that it has to precede you, it has to go beyond you, and think about how it's going to be. And some believe that their business can only be operated by themselves alone. Your vision, your idea is so limited. You need 2 good heads, 3 good heads, 4 good heads to expand your business. So if you are not expanding, how are you going to become competitive globally? So yeah, that's it.
All right, I just want to
I wanted to ask you to.
Yeah, so I really want to use this moment to appreciate what you're doing, and I hope this is consistent.
Very much.
Because this is something we call programming, right? Uche is a media person, and he always talks about the importance of media because people need to hear some things. You take action based on inspiration. You understand? So you might not have hearing some of these things can motivate people to now begin to take certain action. So I feel personally that our young people in the eastern region are our hope.
Yes.
Right? So this is the reason here. So I'm thinking about it, and I would like to make a prediction.
Okay.
We are talking about how that our fathers are not adopting the new stuff. Have we ever thought about it from this angle? What if it is an opportunity for the young people to make their own millions?
Right.
By doing what the fathers are not doing and taking over there.
Right.
Because if you look at it, we're now seeing a lot of you're a fantastic young man. This is happening in somewhere in Eastern region, this podcast. And there are so many other young people out there that could be doing stuff that their fathers were not able to do.
Yeah.
So I think we should be thinking about the future. We should be investing in the future. So I smiled when Uche talked about young people listening, because they should begin to see this as an opportunity, right? So I would like to say on this podcast that some of our biggest billionaires, most of our money in the Eastern region have been made through trade.
Exactly.
But I feel like there is now an opening for the formal sector to actually create the next millionaires, because you can't there are some markets now you can't really enter. Like if I want to go into buying and selling now, there are some markets that are already kind of saturated. But if you are trying to do a media business in Southeast or in Eastern region, it's still virgin. If you are trying to do finance, say for example insurance, it's still virgin. If you are trying to go into credit, it's still virgin. So like I said, long term, but our young people are like the future. Let's look at the young people and start finding a way to get them to think in line with what we are saying
Mm.
and equally act in that way. Then the next thing I also want to talk about, which I feel like, because going back to the funding question, is our diaspora.
I have a question. We'll still,
Okay,
we'll still
okay,
come to that.
okay, good, good. Because I feel like we are not really harnessing the power of
We're
the
not connecting.
diaspora.
I'll
Exactly,
still come to that.
exactly. So that's pretty much it. The final thing is we are in a, I don't like the last thing, and which is one of the reasons why I appreciate Uche so much. I don't want us to have a victim mentality, right? Like anybody, I'm telling you, anybody, as long as you have an internet connection, you have the same opportunity as any other person in the world.
True.
Quite all right. There are discriminations because of your green passport and all of that stuff. But generally, as long as you are averagely intelligent,
You are alive.
you are tenacious,
Yeah.
you can access any opportunity you want. And I think we should start leveraging that. You understand? And just for the record, which is one of my influences as far as being interested in the Southeast, we need people to realize that you can actually be here and do amazing things that, like you are currently doing.
You touched something I call a testimony. You
Okay.
know, last year during the election time, I I campaigned for government, current government. So last year I became very active on Twitter, and somehow I was surprised. Though I chat someone and person reply. I chatted Ketenshaw, Mr. Macaroni. I was like, wow. So these people can. The day I chatted him, I think he replied me that day or the next day. So I told my boss, come on, you big guy. Oh." You know, the truth is, like you said, internet gives us leverage, so much leverage. When I started learning
Developer.
web design, before I met you, I started with YouTube. I would do some nasty design. I will meet him, he will tell me all these things are correct, but they are wrong. They will put me through. But the truth is, internet connection, life is leverage. It's leverage for anything. Okay, Zik, I want you to attend to a very serious question here. E-commerce and digital marketing. How do we harness it as ndị Igbo bụ ndị afịa? I'm sorry, we are business people. If you go to Ogbo, Anambra precisely, Ogbo ebe niile, Ogbo rod, Ogbo plastic, Ogbo efere, and if you go there, there is market. You come to Obaru when they're harvesting their farm produce. I stayed in Obaru. You will see tuber of yam that you cannot lift only very well. You know, there was a time they're harvesting their yam precisely or potato. So a time will come, a bag of potato they are cheap as 700. So we that school there, we sometimes when we are in ND, when we are very, very poor, we're not rich now, but when we are not
We are in
rich.
trenches.
When we are in trenches, sometimes we eat potato morning, we boil it in the morning, we fry it in the afternoon, then just make sure because it's always available.
Yeah.
But the truth is, they have a compass market.
Yeah.
How do they harness digital market? How do they harness the e-commerce sector? How do we Igbo people, how do we Easterners expand? Main market is the biggest market in West Africa in record. How do they harness what we have in the main market? How do we sell beyond Benin? Because most of their customers is Benin, Delta, around. How do they go outside Africa, outside West Africa? So how do we Easterners harness this digital market? So I want us to learn. So
All right. We'll still hear from Uche's perspective too, but let me say this. I feel we have, like, to a large extent, a wrong perception of what e-commerce is,
okay, very
right?
important.
So when we hear e-commerce, most times we think about online stuff. But do you know that displaying your goods on WhatsApp is e-commerce?
E-commerce, yeah.
Accepting transfer is e-commerce. Putting your stuff on Gigi, which a lot of a lot of retailers, a lot of real estate people are doing, is e-commerce. Facebook Marketplace, like if you go there, a lot of people in main market are
They
putting their
sell
stuff
a
there.
whole lot there.
So let's start from what we are already doing. So if it's about whether we are doing e-commerce, we are already doing e-commerce, right? So but when you now start thinking about, because I like us to be very realistic when you're talking about breaking down solutions.
Yeah.
You understand? So let's now look at where we are putting our head. So we are putting our head at something like Jumia. Jumia is not Jumia is not working, like it's not successful by the numbers,
Yes.
right? So Amazon took a lot of time before it was able to get where it was. And one of the reasons why Amazon succeeded because they had proper infrastructure. They have proper infrastructure in the US and many of the markets they operate. E-commerce is a very by when I mean e-commerce now, I'm talking about now when you talk about like buying online and getting it delivered to your house. It's a very infrastructure heavy business, right? Most B2B, one of the things that a lot of investors are experimenting with now is B2B marketplace, meaning as a businessman, I can buy goods from somebody that sells wholesale, right? And it has seen relative success, but we have seen like about two, three companies shutting down now. Why? Logistics. I have a friend in Anambra State that has runs a this farm stuff you talked about. Name of the company is Bazaar. Am I supposed to call names? But yeah, one of the major challenge they are having is what? Logistics. So when you talk about transportation, um you know how much fair price is now. Do you understand? So there are some other things that would make e-commerce work, which is infrastructure. Talk about moving goods from Anambra anywhere in Nigeria to you, you know how many potholes you are going to face in the road plus police checkpoints. Like there's time I was traveling where every junction you are collecting.
From Imo State to
Yeah?
River State, have you gone there? Like before you enter gate two,
So
police.
so the goods are not going to automatically transport from main market to Lagos. They will pass the road.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So that's one thing that we actually need to know. You understand? So I think some areas that we can that are low hanging fruit are say B2B e-commerce. I think a company Zship, I don't know if you've heard of it, are doing something in that respect, handling manage interactions with China
Okay.
and like payments and all of that stuff. So it's more like to aggregate all the purchases.
Okay, for example, someone is making an import
Yeah.
from China, you pay through.
Exactly. So I think another thing is smaller guys. You know, it takes a lot of millions to import.
But, yeah.
So smaller guys like people that want to do like they call it drop shipping.
Yeah.
Somebody can play in that space where you are the middleman that helps them import all of this stuff. That is another interesting part. Another interesting part that people are not talking about is digital products. That's also e-commerce.
Yes.
For example, you can write a book, create a course, and sell it
Yeah.
like unbelievably. So music, for example, is a digital product that can be sold countless times. You don't need to ship anything. There's no logistics involved.
I don't need to create a new one as often.
Exactly. How many people are actually doing music as a business in terms of like here in the eastern region? That's e-commerce. How many people are creating courses? How many people are actually writing books? I'm not talking about KDP and the things that they're slapping together with ChatGPT. These are e-commerce.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So that's what I would say about that. Yeah.
Okay. So the perspective I wanted to talk about, I wanted to disagree with you when you said their customer come just within Delta States, and when you said it, I said no, it's not true. There are two major economic corridor in Nigeria. If you are following me on Twitter, you must have come across where I'm talking about it, and I will not stop talking about it because it is one of the reasons why we are where we are today as a country. So we have two major economic corridor. Number one, we call it Lakaji corridor, economic corridor. It means Lagos, Kano, and Jibre or something. Then the next one is Eastern corridor, which stretches from Port Harcourt, Aba, Enugu, and Meduguri, and so on. In 2010, the Eastern Economic Corridor had over 60% of our GDP. And this economic corridor serves the Central African Republic up to Zambia.
Wow.
So people from this part of the countries that stretches from Central Africa, that's from Cameroon to Gabon to Equatorial Guinea to up to Zambia. That economic corridor has been shut down. Somehow little business or no business is going on there. It is intentionally shut down by Nigerian states. I have been talking about it, um, and I meant to understand that it was after the Civil War that corridor was almost unoperational. You recall historically, the southern Cameroon was part of Nigeria, and we used to trade together. We were almost the same people. If you look at their phenotypically, they are the same people with the people of the um, South, the Cross River and the Cross Aqua Cross. They are the same people with them. So we trade together from here to Beminda to Manfe to even to Panya, which is Equatorial Guinea. So that stretch of business corridor has been operational, and our people have been trading, from that route over the years. So on the Chamen market and Aba have been serving this, corridor. So it is a very huge space, economic space that has been intentionally, shrunk to the level it is now. And we are using just one corridor, which is Lakaji. And even with the recent approach from federal government, how they have decided to build um, double, um what's it called, double standard rail from Lagos to Ibadan to Kano and so on. But nothing has been done in Eastern Corridor. The one that is happening here, the one they are doing here, is just one single, yeah, and it's not good enough. So these are the intentional acts from the federal government to undermine that Eastern Corridor. The reason why I'm saying it is because I'm out to talk about it. I will never stop talking about it, but it seems to have been forgotten in some quarters. So I'm using this opportunity to remind our people that that corridor is very important for our economic emancipation. We need that corridor to be open. We need to open up that corridor so that people in Aba, people in Enugu, people in Onitsha can easily do their business with the world without having to go through, Edo, Delta, and Benin, then Lagos before. No, we don't have to go through that route. So, in disagreeing with the point that we only sell to, if you go to Onitsha today, you still see people from Niger, if you still see people from Cameroon, from Ivory Coast, and all other places. So it's a very big market. He has spoken very well, giving ideas on what e-commerce entails. And we are, I don't know how to put it, but if you're expecting us to have the same format or the same model that is existing elsewhere immediately, it's going to be difficult. So, because a lot of people who jumped into this so-called e-commerce very early, some of them are no longer operational. The reason is because they jumped too early and they used what was obtainable elsewhere as a format and wanted to implement it here without looking. That is copying and pasting without editing. So it's not going to work. So what you need to do, what we need to do, is to understudy our, our body language, how we operate as a people, our behavior pattern, our social, attitude towards these things. Then begin to align towards that. So that's the only way you can create something that can, give us some semblance of what you have elsewhere. He has also added the fact that there are also digital products that we are not pushing the way we're supposed to push. When he mentioned music, I was like, it's true. I've not even thought about it. Because honestly, I can't really tell you. I was saying something and he corrected me earlier. So I can't really tell you any digital product that is sonic, or any sonic digital product that's coming from the Southeast that is quite known. I can't really point out anyone. We should be able to have sonic products. Even what we are doing here, we don't have most of them coming from here. We are into trade. Where can you see a platform that talks about trade digitally that people can subscribe to? We are into what's it called, commerce and all of that. We essentially we don't invest in. I don't know if it is a lack of know-how or lack. There are so many things responsible to that. Let me not lie. We have lack of infrastructure as one of it.
Yeah,
When I say infrastructure,
very key problem.
I'm talking about the network providers that are very poor, especially the one I'm facing now. So I can't even use my phone to do anything meaningful because the network providers here are very bad. So we need to have infrastructure, fiber optics laid, within our regions, be able to make our network very efficient. We talked about logistics. That is the cocoa in all of this because without logistics, without transportation being efficient, they're not going to do anything. All these things we are going to this is just on the system because beyond buying online, paying online, there has to be transportation. The goods has to be transported to your doorstep, and the process of doing that is where the cocoa is. Eba Akanso Bobe. That's where you will meet produce. Imagine if you buy foams from Onitsha main market and you are taking it to Enugu. On the road, you will pay for produce. Beyond paying for produce, you're also going to pay police and the road safety and every other agencies that are on the road extorting. I'm not talking about fuel in price here. I'm talking about the money you're going to be paying outside, you know, then the bad roads. So there are a lot of constraints that makes it almost, impossible for things like that to be smoothly operational in Nigeria. If you look at Amazon, they have their vehicles that's plot, that apply everywhere in the United States of America, for example. They go to any nook and cranny to deliver goods. But can you have that here? Can Jumia, how many times have you seen Jumia vehicle flying, nook and cranny of these houses? Go to certain places, you'll be kidnapped. So insecurity is also very key. So these things are not, it's not like some people are not interested in putting it. It is difficult.
Factors are very
It's very, very, very. So let's start with the one we can do. Those little ones he mentioned, soft skill can go online. We can push content online. A lot of people are doing it. We have people who are making money, who are earning a living online. So it's also part of it. So let's invest more of our energy in those things other than doing the ones that will just dry up our money. But it's still essential that we look at solution towards it.
Okay, thank you very much. We've had a very interesting time. We still have some very few questions before we end the session. You spoke of diaspora. How can we leverage connections with Nigerians in diaspora to open more opportunities? How can we, for capital, for mentorship, it's not only capital mentorship, for global markets. We have, last year I was watching Eli Joffolo in the UK. I think it was in Austin or Texas or so. And then Lens did there. So how do we leverage these connections in diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora? How do we make this connection? Because uh, as much as we have problems connecting even within locally, we still have problem connecting with them because many of them are their market source. So how do we leverage this connection? How do we? So Zikora, can you put us through?
All right. So thank you for for that question. So it's an interesting problem. Joshua is an interesting concept, and like every other thing, it's going to be built on a foundation of proper structure and trust, right?
Okay.
So if it's about the diaspora being interested, at least from the few times I've interacted with Chase Space, Chief Watching Emilium Space, and some other spaces, the diaspora are very interested, right? I've had the opportunity to interact with some organizations over there for example, the US, Umuibo Unite, and some other organizations, right? So these guys are basically interested. I just feel we now need to like come up with something solid, right? So let's look at funding and mentorship as a case study.
Yes, sir.
So it's interesting, it's important for you to look at what is existing and now try to like model yours after it. So there's this organization that I find very interesting. It's called Hook, HOAQ. AQ.
H-O-A-Q.
Yeah, and what they are is they are an angel syndicate, meaning that they pull money together from wealthy individuals. You may not be so wealthy, like you don't have to be an ultra rich. You understand? Because they are like they are categories of investors.
You don't have to be Elon Musk.
Exactly, exactly. But you need to be sufficiently like my boss now is he can be an angel, right?
He's an angel.
Yeah, he's an angel already. Even you can be an angel.
Hallelujah.
You understand? So these are people who have like money to put into startups. So Hook basically they utilize an already existing structure which is called a syndicate. A syndicate is more simpler than something like a VC fund, that's venture capital fund. So if you go to their website, you see that they bring together professionals from different parts of Nigeria, Africa, to invest in and mentor startups. This is something that can be easily replicated in a breeze by somebody who has the vision and the foresight. So when we talk about these ideas, right, you know, you can definitely not do everything. There are a lot of things that Uche would do and he will succeed at, but he can't do everything. And there are a lot of things that you would think of and you can't do everything. So I would say whoever is um, inspired to do this, it's a matter of your credibility, right? Because if it's about access, it's pretty much, I think it's pretty much easy to make it happen, right? Having the modeling hook, for example, and figuring out how do you for instance engage the diaspora in like coming together to work on this particular structure, but you need to put something in place that they can work with. Mind you, there are a lot of people that are actually looking for places to put money, looking for things to invest in, but you need to have a track record. Who are you? What have you done before? Why should they listen to you? Why should they trust your judgment in terms of making this thing happen? But this is a case in point, one way that we can actually do it. So it's already happening. Engagement with diaspora is already happening through Twitter spaces that connects the entire world. These guys are jumping in and they're actually like opining. So I feel like if we can create credible vehicles, right? When I say vehicles, whether it's angel syndicates, whether it's
Any structure that can
exactly
connect and
official,
carry,
formal. Don't play hanky panky. You right now you can be in your room and you can incorporate a US C corp.
yeah,
If it means that you should go on first base or no base and create a US company, do so that they can feel comfortable that this thing is legit. You understand? But you need to create a structure that they can actually comfortably engage with. So it's pretty much as easy as figuring out, see credit now. So I've heard, I've not really experienced that the typical Igbo man doesn't like credit. I don't know. But credit is big business. So I mean credit, like it's been replicated in Lagos, replicated in a lot of African countries, and people are cashing out from credit. Right now, Access Bank is looking at entering big time into the credit space. What is credit? You have supply invoice, like you want to supply this particular stuff. You don't have the money. I give you the money, and when you buy that thing and you make your profit, you give me back my money with percentage of that profit you made. This is just the business, and people are cashing out from it. So imagine if you're able to create a proper structure. Remember, your name is what you have.
yeah.
Like there's somebody that would want to do this thing now and nobody will listen to him. You understand? So but at the same time, if you can create a proper structure that these people can work with, it's just as simple as connecting another person and you connect it to the entire Igbo people. But in summary, let's find interesting vehicles, right? From credit to angel syndicates to what's the name? Cloud mentorship, where you can bring, there are people want to invest back home. That's just the truth. But give them a base,
Give them something to
that is legal, that is verifiable, that when they go and check they do their due diligence, they know that this thing is all right. And being on ground is an advantage. You understand?
Yeah.
They can't be here and there. And you know now, you know what the exchange rate is saying. $100 might be nothing, but it's a lot of
But it's
interesting
nothing
money
here.
here. So that's what I'll say.
Okay, Sauchi, there's something I want us to address before we round up the section. Uh, I want everyone to address it. Tech
Hmm.
has presumably different facets, different view, different sphere. I would want us to preach the reality of tech as not what some people view it to be.
What
Uh,
did they view it as?
okay, now some persons, young Igbo persons, young Igbo boys, are seeing tech as leverage for crime.
Okay.
Yeah, as leverage for dubious acts. Um, I would not call names and I will not give narrow examples, but I know some persons that started learning web design and programming, they started programming classes. At some point that they learned HTML and CSS. It was enough to do a scam site. You know, scam sites don't have to be a good. So I want us to preach the reality of tech as not being a leverage or a platform. I want us to really
Okay, you want me to tell.
explain to them
The truth
that
is that if you have the brain to learn tech, and all you could use it to do is to commit crime. If you dupe anybody under any means, if you do anything in exchange for money that is not legitimate, you're a criminal. And it's so shameful that you are not putting your brain into good use. Imagine you spend all the money learning how to code, learning how to create a website, and you end up using it to scam people. Shame on you. Even the gods of your land will never forgive you. I'm looking in. I see a lot of people, try to justify this, and I see the consequence will be too much. It's going to come. We are not the first set generation that committed crime. You are not the first person to have been involved in fraudulent activity. The enjoyment is so momentary. You can enjoy it now. The time will come. Go and ask people who have been involved in it. Since I made a research, so I was invited on a radio to speak on the crime, Yahoo and all of that. And made me to start. I started researching about the crime in Nigeria, and you'll be shocked to know that crime or Yahoo, what they call Yahoo today, started before even amalgamation of the country. So the names is quite interesting. Most of them became political leaders, and their whereabouts were very shady. They ended up in a very disgraced way. Some of them, their generation, they are finding their feet. Some of them, they fizzled out. But I can tell you, it is not sustainable. I've looked at the wealth created over the centuries or over years in different parts of the world. And what I can tell you is that any wealth that its source, it is not well structured in a legitimate means, it's going to crumble, and the crumbling is always catastrophic because it doesn't have taproot, it doesn't have a foundation that is sustainable. So when you are making a living, some people say they are escaping poverty, but have you bothered to ask yourself, why is it that people who engage in this thing have the same lifestyle? They have the same lifestyle, they behave the same way, they think the same way, they spend the same way. If they want to go broke, their level of brokenness is always extreme, as in it's always disastrous. So you begin to imagine, is it not the same person that was using latest iPhone, latest Benz? All of a sudden, the person will go to zero, will not even find food to chop, you start selling everything. The reason is because the source of wealth is coming from a place of extreme illegitimacy, and it can never be sustained. it can never get you anywhere. So if you have the brain to learn how to make websites, why don't you see? If I go online and see what Indians, we are not the worst country in terms of scamming.
Yeah.
We are not the worst. There are countries who are better than us in terms of scamming. And but these countries have also used their exposure to technology and immerse themselves into getting the right thing done.
Yeah.
You go to Upwork, for example, you see
Yeah.
Pakistanis, you see Bangladeshi and Indians and what have you.
Most.
They are all over the place, and making huge money. So the kind of money these people are making on these platforms, all these umushumushi Yahoo boys that we have here, all of them combined together, they don't get up to anything. And again, some of our people think they are invincible, or they can't be caught, or they are somehow excluded. Again, that exposes the ignorance, because if you speak to any cybersecurity expert, he will tell you that every digital footprint is well noted. Every digital footprint of a scammer is known. Whatever thing, whatever, provided it's American currency that is entering into your account. If you like, use BTC, whatever you call it. You are not the one that created it.
Yes,
They told you that it was created by somebody. It's decentralized. It's not true. So there is nothing you are doing that they just ignore you because the money is insignificant. The money they are going to use to chase after you may be too expensive for the money you have stolen. So it's only when you've done so much, maybe if you've taken so much millions, they will not come for you. The case in point is Invictus and Hush Puppies, and so many other people that we don't even know, because what they do is that when they get these high profile individuals, they begin to pick other ones through them, because they are going to enter into agreement with these people to expose more people. The day they will remember, say, Enugu or Awka or anywhere, they are going to pick every single, they know you to your bedroom. They're just not interested in picking. So I just would advise you, what will it take to come out tomorrow and beat your chest and tell your children that you never engaged in any illegality? Do you know how, the proud you would be telling your children that you never engaged in that? Do you know how relieving? Do you know how free you will be saying that boldly? So I really don't know, what else to say. I have been telling people, look, the reason why we gain this knowledge and use it in the wrong way is because of our value system has really depreciated. It's so sad to see. The value system of an Igbo man that used to be integrity, excellence, it's no longer what it is now. So everybody is okay, provided you are, donating money to the church, or you are providing money to the community, and you're taking chieftaincy title, you are relieved. So all these things are things that I usually tell people. Like, I, for example, I can come anywhere, and beat my chest that I've never done anything illegal to earn a dime. And that is how it's going to continue to be, because I want to come tomorrow and say it boldly to anybody, to my full chest, and anybody who has anything should come and verify and get me. When I see people who do these things, and I ask myself, when they die, because that's where people are going to talk, no matter who you are. If they don't talk about it when you are becoming too popular, they're going to talk about it when you are dead. What will be the fate of your children? How will they face the shame? So again, I don't know if we still have shame in this country, do we? So what I'm saying is that if you have any skill, soft skill, please dedicate it in providing solutions. There's so many things we can provide online. If you go to YouTube, for example, You see Indians who barely speak English. They are
Mm.
caught and join English. They're everywhere telling the world they are making money from it. If you go to Upwork, like I mentioned, or Fiverr, anywhere, they are everywhere providing solution. Look, get your FA.
Okay.
Go and find what you can do. Be useful and stop being a nuisance to the society. Some of you are, if you see the red flag you are putting on, in fact, I don't know how to describe it. I think I was watching some, docu from FBI. So they were just trying to show um, red flags zone across the globe, and Nigeria was showing intense red, and this is to show you the kind of shame you guys are bringing on the global map. Alongside with the Eastern Europe and some part of India. So honestly, we can do better. And another thing again is that I think I've mentioned it to you. We have not really appreciated the people who have done the right thing enough
No.
as a people. So it rubs off on us. The people who have made money, it's not wealth, money, the paper, through illegitimate means are too loud, and they are the one gaining the recognition, and people are
Audience.
knowing their name. It shouldn't be so. There are legitimate ones that have made their names, that have made money, created wealth, sustainable wealth. These names should be out there. People should know them. You should, extol them. And that's why there was a time I dedicated my account to extolling people with excellent, records, because it inspires other people to be like them. When you extol people who are doing great, when you highlight people who are doing very well in their endeavor, you are encouraging younger people to emulate the right person. I remember when we are young, some of us wanted to be Ben Carson, right?
Yeah.
Wanted to be great people because we know them. If people didn't talk about Ben Carson, if Ben Carson wasn't popular, we wouldn't have known. So let's also,
Sing the praises
of the people who are doing the right thing in the society, because it encourages younger ones to emulate them and do better.
Thank you very much. Finally, I want you to, in this question, we also address Anambra Tech community. Let's talk about collaboration. I think it's something we like in the East. It's in almost in every industry. Uh, we are good guys individually. So how do we form a community? If there are existing communities, how do people hop in? If there are existing tech communities, self-development communities, we need to collaborate. We've seen that we cannot do alone. We cannot fight alone. Nobody is a lone soldier. So how do we work with this community? There's already existing communities like Anambra Tech communities, Anambra Tech is. How do people get involved and what is needed? Analysis.
All right. So concerning existing communities, like you rightly mentioned, in Anambra State, there is Anambra Techies. You can just search for it, anambratechies.org.
AnambraTechies.org.
.org. Yeah. In Enugu, we have GDG Enugu, and we have a couple other Web3 communities. I think if you search for communities in Southeast, you should find them. So concerning the question of collaboration, I believe that, like you said, no tree makes a single tree cannot make a forest, exactly. But you understand that when you're approaching partnership, because I feel he said something during the course of the podcast that the individuals from the eastern region are very should I call it democratic, or I forgot the word he used, Republican. So when approaching collaboration, you need to know how to structure it in such a way that everybody is walking away happy.
Okay.
Yes, I think it's something that we don't talk enough of. While we are preaching it, we need to understand that if I'm coming to you and I'm saying, let's collaborate and work on this thing, everything should be clear. What am I gaining? And what are you gaining?
Yeah.
Let's just be honest about these things. So this is one thing that I really want us to do a lot of. It's about collaboration. It's so important. Like when we work together, we achieve more. For everybody that is involved, especially when we remember our very nature of being profit culture.
Republican.
Yeah,
Mm,
you need to tell me what is in it for me.
yeah.
Let's not be shady about it. Be straightforward about it. Like, this is what you stand to gain.
Mm.
This is what you stand to gain, and everybody would put in their energy. So a situation where I've seen a lot of partnerships. Like, one of the most interesting feature, one of the most important ability of great businesses is the ability to build partnerships. Like, that's one of the distinction. And there's a methodological way of structuring partnerships. You don't structure partnership and the other person is not,
Yeah, now.
It's losing out.
is losing out. That's not a partnership. That's not a collaboration.
Yeah.
You understand? So this is one very important point I think I should make. So we are actually collaborating. We've seen a lot of events that had a lot of brands come together to make happen. This is possible because a lot of people are behind the scene making it happen.
Yeah.
We achieve more when we work together, but let's be clear on terms.
Yeah.
It doesn't take. It's not hard for us to. It's not hard for us to like cut off stuff that are not beneficial to us.
Yes.
Exactly.
So let me add something there. Naturally, Ndibo, I always liked us to look at Ndibo as a people, distinct people, and look at their way of life before we cast aspersion or try to paint whatever we want to paint about them. And this is because when we look at what is happening elsewhere, we try to compare, or we try to forcefully replicate it here. It doesn't work because we are distinct people. If we are from different family, for example, and you are very rich, you have a house. I am also expected to be rich and also have a house. Same with everybody. But there are culture who would be comfortable that you alone are rich.
Everybody fits from.
Yes, I can be appendage to you.
Yeah.
So there are culture that accept it.
They are fine.
They are fine with it. It's not a problem. So you will be propelled to the greatest level, and I will be your cheerleader. He will be your second. There are culture that accept it.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So in Igbo culture, it is extremely difficult. So when you are coming into Igbo space with that mindset that you have attained something, that you see people that are doing it for others, when you come here, try to understand the people you are dealing with.
True.
Understand that everybody wants to be successful the same way you want to. So learn that, understand it.
Yeah.
And I am not saying that we should be overly ambitious, right?
True.
But if we are trying to collaborate or create that collaboration, as a leader, you have to lead from behind. Do not always force yourself to be at the front. If you lead from behind and show it, demonstrate it, so that they will see that you're actually coming to collaborate, not to rip them. Because for my fama, we are Igbo people. Everybody well sense. So you are not expecting only you to be sensible and the rest will flock towards your back as a sheep for us to create the community. So I work with our people, so I know the dynamic is different. Other ethnic group can accept those things, but our people are raised to be independent, and and that has really created that some sort of friction where people who have experienced that the different culture will come here and start bad mouthing what is happening here, that we are not we are collaborative, but it has to come from a place of, like you said, you have to be clear. Even if it's not going to come with anything, make it known. Lead from behind. Find a way to make sure that every participant, everybody is happy. So that is what I can say. I have heard a lot of stories. People complain about this, but I know where their complaints are coming from. It's mostly judged from the perspective they have seen elsewhere. They have not been patient enough to understand the system. Yes, how the people operate, their lifestyle, their worldview, and everything. So you cannot, because it is successful elsewhere, copy it and make sure that it's pasted here and expect results. It's not going to work. So that is what I have to add there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Sauche and Zikora. This is Anambra first son and Zikora Chukwuka. I'm very happy having you. Once again, we've come to the end of the session. I want to appreciate your presence. Sincerely, I'm very, very, very happy. I know I used very now 3 times because I'm more impressed than what I expected. You know, from the very first time I dropped a message on your DM, your response, I was amazed. You know, sometimes we that just we either call Mazina Sar or Nafo. We look up to you guys. You are inspirational, not because you are here. You are inspirational. That's why I looked at. So I reach out to someone, and Zikora, thank you very much for your rapid response. We've been able to see that Easterners, we are not left behind. Just that we have not been able to sing our praise. We've not been able to we've not raised our flag or tell our stories. You know, many people, many things we believe is because they told us. Many things we know, if you make research, may not be true. You know, many stories we learned from when we are coming up, many songs we sang we are not true, just that they told us. You know, so we want to say a very big thank you to everyone that participated in this session from the studio we are broadcasting from, Patmos studio at Awka. I want to say thank you to Osmaxin Developers, that they are one of our major sponsors. I want to say thank you to Joniprime Koncepts and the whole team of Royal Inc. We are 5 persons primarily. I want to say thank you to everybody, and we say may God bless us, and we hope to continue preaching this gospel. It's not something we're going to stop. We're going to tell the world that Nani I will remain, and there is more to come. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.